Chapter 3: Land-Based Finance and Local Government Debt. Chinese local governments have developed unique mechanisms to finance urban development and infrastructure projects by leveraging land as a core financial asset. These practices, rooted in China's distinctive governance and fiscal systems, have fueled the country's rapid industrialization and urbanization while also amassing significant debt. This chapter explores the evolution of land-based finance, its implications for government debt, and the broader dynamics of local governance and economic development. The genesis of land-based finance. In China, land is a critical asset under government control. While land itself may not inherently hold high value, its worth increases exponentially when paired with economic activities such as urbanization and industrialization. This phenomenon enables local governments to capitalize on land through its transformation into collateral for financial transactions. The value created is not merely physical, but represents an aggregation of past savings, current revenues, and future potentials. This abstraction turns land into a powerful lever for massive investments required for urban and industrial expansion. The shift from direct land sales to land finance marked a significant evolution in this approach. Instead of relying solely on the one-time income from land sales, local governments began to borrow against future land-related revenues. This innovative financial model allowed for considerable amplification of funds, converting land fiscal revenues into a broader framework of land finance. Mechanisms of land finance, urban development platforms. A cornerstone of China's land-based financial system is the creation of local government financing platforms, LGFPs, also referred to as urban investment companies. These state-owned enterprises are instrumental in managing land development and infrastructure projects. LGFPs serve dual purposes. They facilitate the borrowing of funds necessary for large-scale projects and execute these projects on behalf of the government. For instance, the case of Chengdu's Quanzhai Alley illustrates this process. Initially spearheaded by municipal government-owned companies, this cultural and tourist landmark required substantial investment and lengthy timelines, making it unsuitable for private developers. Over 16 years, Chengdu's financing platforms expanded their capacity by leveraging government-owned land and securing significant loans, supported implicitly by the local government's backing. Such projects often rely on government subsidies, further demonstrating the intertwined relationship between public finance and urban development. The broader success of land finance is not limited to cultural projects. Industrial parks like the Suzhou Industrial Park showcase the scalability of this model. Managed by LGFPs and state-owned enterprises, these parks integrate land development with industrial promotion. The integration of industrial and urban planning often requires cross-subsidization, with revenue-generating commercial real estate supporting less profitable industrial facilities. Debt and risk. The Achilles heel of land finance. While land finance has been instrumental in driving growth, it has also contributed to a rapid accumulation of local government debt. The financial crisis of 2008 exacerbated this issue when the Chinese government launched a 4 trillion yen stimulus plan. This included relaxing restrictions on local borrowing, leading to a surge in LGFP creation and debt issuance. By 2009, there were over 8,000 LGFPs, many tied to projects with questionable financial viability. The sustainability of this debt depends on a critical assumption: continuous economic growth and rising land values. However, this creates systemic risks. Any slowdown in economic growth or a decline in land prices can trigger a debt crisis, as repayment capabilities are directly tied to land revenues. Studies estimate local government debt, including hidden liabilities, to account for approximately 60% of GDP, with significant regional disparities. Less developed areas and lower administrative levels, such as counties, face disproportionately higher risks due to limited revenue bases and economic activity. Central local dynamics. Balancing governance and autonomy. China's fiscal structure, established in the 1994 tax sharing reform, centralized tax revenues while delegating expenditure responsibilities to local governments. This imbalance forced local authorities to rely heavily on land sales and borrowing. While central transfers and tax rebates provide operational funding, the ambitious infrastructure and industrial projects required additional financial resources. The central government has sought to regulate this debt through various reforms. Debt swaps allowed local governments to replace high-interest LGFP loans with lower-interest municipal bonds. This reduced borrowing costs and mitigated risks associated with short-term debt mismatches. However, it also imposed strict limits on new borrowing, creating challenges for regions with robust growth prospects but constrained fiscal capacity. Another significant reform has been the attempt to delineate the roles of LGFPs and local governments. This includes eliminating implicit government guarantees for LGFP debt. However, disentangling these relationships remains challenging, as many LGFPs are heavily indebted and reliant on government support. The role of local officials, incentives, and consequences. Local officials play a pivotal role in land finance and investment decisions. China's cadre evaluation system links officials' promotions to their ability to drive economic growth, often measured by GDP and fixed asset investment. This has incentivized short-term, investment-driven growth strategies, such as expanding urban infrastructure and attracting industrial projects. However, this has also led to inefficiencies, including urban sprawl, redundant infrastructure, and environmental degradation. The frequent turnover of local leaders exacerbates these issues. New officials often prioritize high-visibility projects to establish their credentials, disregarding long-term sustainability or prior commitments. This political investment cycle contributes to rising debts and underutilized assets, particularly in less developed regions. Recent reforms aim to address these misaligned incentives. New evaluation criteria emphasize balanced development, including social and environmental goals. However, the entrenched culture of prioritizing economic growth remains a challenge. Corruption and governance, navigating complex realities. The concentration of power in land-related transactions and the vast sums involved have made corruption a significant concern. Cases of collusion corruption, where officials and businesses collaborate for mutual benefit, are particularly pervasive. While such arrangements can facilitate short-term economic gains, they distort resource allocation and exacerbate income inequality over time. China's anti-corruption campaign, launched in 2012, has tackled high-profile cases and systemic issues within the bureaucracy. The campaign's success has been acknowledged by the public, reflecting improved perceptions of government integrity. However, the campaign has also introduced unintended consequences, such as risk aversion among officials, slowing decision-making processes. Toward a new model of governance. The chapter concludes by highlighting the need for a fundamental shift in government roles. Transitioning from a producer-investor model to a service-oriented approach is critical for sustainable development. Simplifying administrative processes and promoting private sector participation through public-private partnerships, PPPs, can help reduce fiscal pressures and improve efficiency. However, this requires overcoming institutional inertia and entrenched interests within the existing system. The challenges of China's land finance and debt underscore the complexities of balancing rapid development with fiscal sustainability. As the country navigates these issues, its experiences offer valuable lessons on the interplay between governance, finance, and development in a transitioning economy.